Right, hello. You're here joining myself and James Holden Fitness for our very first
James Holden Fitness
for our flagship podcast. There he is, the man himself. How are you doing today?
All good. How are you, mate?
Yeah, not too bad, thank you. So basically, just a little bit about the podcast. Originally, we were going to do mostly fitness-related content and have a name that reflected such, but we decided that we kind of wanted to talk about more broad subjects than just fitness, because obviously that would be limiting ourselves. And I like to think we're fairly interesting people.
Definitely.
Every week we're going to come along. We're going to have some guests on. There's going to be guests, different subjects. It's just going to be a laugh. It's great long-form content for those long drives and things like that. So yeah, be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel and obviously give us both a follow on Instagram. And hopefully you enjoy. So Jay, what's the first thing you want to speak about today?
So I think we're going to we'll touch on the name first of all. Believe it or not, we actually have given the name some thought. It doesn't really seem like it from the actual name itself. The A&J Podcast, which does seem kind of basic, but we actually have given it some thought. So yeah, as we were saying, the first original idea was to just do it mainly on fitness, gym, personal training, nutrition, and then we sort of thought, there's sort of more to it than that, and just doing those sort of topics would limit ourselves within that. Yeah. Calling it the A&J Podcast means we can sort of touch on broader topics, sort of put our ideas across on sort of certain views, get a wider range of different guests on. Hence the name. So I think first of all, how's your day been, mate?
Yeah, not too bad. So
what have you been up to today?
Well, just starting the day off. Obviously, we train here, so whilst we're recording this, the UK is currently in its third or fourth lockdown.
I've lost count now.
Yeah, so it's currently, just to date it, March the 30th.
Yeah.
We've been through quite a few lockdowns. We're both personal trainers ourselves, so lockdowns means no gym, no business, and also nowhere to work out and de-stress. So I've got a nice little setup in my crib.
It's literally just behind us.
Literally behind us. And so that's what we've been using daily. To be honest, I think I would really struggle to work out if it wasn't for you coming around, or if we weren't training together, just purely because just don't have the motivation.
I think we discussed this at the start. Even obviously the whole spotting thing's important. So for example, it means on the top of my head, bench press, for example, we can go a bit heavier because we have a spot. But also, just from a motivation point of view, an encouragement point of view, it just makes a lot more sense to train with each other. And same as you, to be honest, I don't think I could really keep up the day-to-day gym workouts if it wasn't for you without getting a bit gay. But
literally, it's motivation's massive, and a lot of my motivation for fitness comes from the gym environment, being around loads of people that I know. The energy in there, it's just different, and obviously we work there, so we know a lot of people. A lot of the people listening to this now will be people that we have met or know through the gym.
Yeah, definitely.
In fact, probably a majority of people know us as personal trainers.
Definitely.
So it's really although it seems so small, for the government to close gyms is massive, not just for us, but for so many people who suffer with a lot of mental health issues. It's their escape.
Definitely.
And that's definitely how I would say I sort of got into the gym in the first place.
Yeah.
I don't know about yourself, but in school I was unpopular, overweight, and it wasn't a good environment for me. I wouldn't say I didn't get bullied harshly. Looking back, I was a bit of not a knob, but I was a bit weird. So I could see why. I had a lot of growing up to do. I've always had a baby face and everything. So for me, it was kind of cool to be able to prove people wrong and get in the gym and get fitter. And
so what would you say your sort of main reason for getting into the gym and getting into weight training was?
So without getting too deep, because I'll probably go more into my life story later down the line, but I've had a lot of issues in my home life, in my private life, as well as obviously being unfit and overweight. And so it was just kind of a healthy way to do something else. So when I first left school, I was 15 when I left school. I'm an August baby, so I did my GCSEs, didn't get the results, left straight for work. as a chef. I thought that's what I wanted to do.
Okay.
I worked at a restaurant in a city nearby called Cheltenham. It was one of the best restaurants in the area. Well, at the time it was number 2. Now I'm not sure where it is.
Mm-hmm.
Amazing place to work, lovely people. But I was doing 80, 90 hours a week as a 15-year-old, 16, 17. Like,
So
it's
is
a
that
bit
even
mad.
legal? Or?
Well, it's far from legal, but
Yeah.
you know, we won't mention any names just so no one gets in any trouble for that.
No, we don't want to do that.
So was it strictly legal? No, but like I wanted to do that. I absolutely loved it. Like nowadays, I just eat chicken and rice, so my chefing abilities don't get tested as much. But like, I went from working like 80, 90 hours a week to then getting like a role as, I think I went into like general labouring next kind of thing, like just to get some money.
And then you were still going to the gym during this time, still training.
That's kind of where I started going to the gym.
Okay.
Is I was working as a labourer, and instead of doing 80, 90 hours a week, I was doing 40 hours a week or 38 hours a week.
A bit more time on your hands.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I had like so much more time. It was ridiculous because, you know, as you can imagine, I was used to doing like 8 till, or not even that. So I got on the bus at like 7:15 in the morning, started work at 8, and I wouldn't get back sometimes on a weekend till like 1:30 in the morning. So like you're talking like long days where you've got, you know, and you're working 8 till 2, then you have like a 2-hour break if you have time to go and get lunch, and then you're straight back in the evening to do like an evening service of a few hundred people, and like it was very stressful. And then when I left there, I just had so much extra time, and I was like, you know what, I'm still a little chubby. I kind of wanna get myself into some sort of shape. I've always liked the look of bodybuilders and just thought it was like unattainable. Like they're all on steroids. They're, you know, there's no way you could get a good physique and be natural. Sort of, exactly. There's no way you can get a good physique and be natural, and you know, because I didn't want to do anything that would put my body and my health at jeopardy.
Right.
And yeah, that kind of just snowballed down the line.
I think that's a whole nother topic there, isn't it? The whole steroids and the use of steroids within bodybuilding,
literally.
but we'll touch on that another time. And then in terms of sort of personal training, I guess, how did that come about? How did that, you know, did you want to be a personal trainer when you sort of started getting more into the gym, or has it been a sort of a recent thing? How long have you been a PT now?
So for me personally, I've been PT qualified for 3 years now or so, but I've only been a PT. I started October 2019.
Right.
Obviously, 2020 lockdown happened.
What made you want to do the qualification?
You know what? I just started taking the gym more and more seriously, and I started getting questions from people. I was going to like a really commercial, like the cheapest gym in town to start with. Yeah. So you can imagine thousands of members. Yeah. And you know, you're social. You get to know these people. Yeah. I'm not one of these people that kind of hermits away. I get on with people. I talk to people. In general, and yeah, so just talking to people, and then suddenly like loads of people started asking me more advice or wanted to train with me, or what, you know, could see that I was getting somewhere, and we go, oh, you're getting bigger, oh, you're doing this, oh, you're looking better, blah blah blah. And then I would see people that I went to school with, and it would be the same story. Oh my God, you've changed, blah blah blah. I'd grown up a little bit, but also just like my body.
Yeah, and a bit less chubby.
Yeah, a lot less chubby. So like, at that point, I was like, you know what? It really, I got something out of people coming up to me. Right. I got like something. I don't know. I just liked it when someone came up to me and said, can you? And I could help them. Yeah. I felt great. So I thought, you know, there's got to be a way that I can sort of, I guess, monetize that. I know that sounds a bit like a bit pretentious, but a way to turn that into a living. Yeah. And so that's kind of what led me to become a personal trainer. And then again, without going too far into my life story, my career pursuits got put off by a while because I had to have some surgeries on my back and things. All very fun things to go through. Like I was 19 when I had surgery on my spine. Yeah. Which isn't what you want at that age.
No, not at all.
But yeah, so then sort of it was just that feeling of helping people. I really enjoyed that, and then obviously there's no job like it. Like I'm sure you know yourself. Like how did you come into like personal training?
Yeah, so I think my story is a lot different to yours in regards of how I got into it. So same as you, obviously I went to school, and then different to you, I went to sixth form. So after year 11, I was 15, 16, and then decided to go to sixth form. And then through sixth form, I was quite fortunate in the fact that the school that I went to actually offered personal training as a qualification.
Yeah, it's quite rare.
It is quite rare, yeah. So I did in year 12, I did the level 2, and then in year 13, I did the level 3. And then, fun fact, I mean, I was very, very, very close to dropping out in year 13. I couldn't really see myself being a personal trainer.
Yeah.
And I was there like, what's the point of me doing it if I'm literally never going to be, a personal trainer?
Yeah.
And then if it wasn't for probably family at the time, also my teacher sort of encouraging me not to drop out, I would have dropped out. Obviously got the qualification, and then didn't really use it much, at all really. I was going to the gym, but again, never really had the aspiration to become a personal trainer. And then I went to, I got offered a job at the place we work now, Everlast. So it's called now.
Formerly DW, yeah.
Yeah, formerly DW, now Everlast Gloucester. Still feels a bit weird saying that.
It does, 100% it does.
But so I started there as a membership sales consultant, and then it was towards where are we now? We are March. I've lost
March 2021.
April of March 2021.
End of March.
So this is going back to 2020. Last year, the sort of option came about for me to go into the personal training at DW. Yeah. And then Corona hits, so it sort of got put on delay.
Yeah, because I remember you were working obviously in sales. Yeah. For a long time. So
I think we should say as well, you were personal trainer.
Yeah. I was personal trainer. That's how we literally started on the same day. Yeah. I started as a PT. James started.
I think you literally started like a week after me or something like that.
I just remember the Instagram posts were both on the same day.
Yeah.
So we literally started out on virtually the same day, except I was a PT, he was in sales.
That's right.
Because he didn't really, care for personal training, which is completely fair enough.
Complete opposite to how it is now.
Yeah, it's not the easiest job to get into in the world in a lot of aspects, and obviously we can go into that in other podcasts. But definitely. I remember at the time he was like James loved the gym. He was always going, but he had no drive to be in sales. You could see it. He'd turn up for sales. He'd sit there. He'd look after it. He'd do the job, and he'd do it. It
wasn't really where I wanted to be.
You can tell it. Yeah, you could tell he didn't care for it.
I think a lot of other people sort of latched onto that. I think the thing that I found with sales, membership sales advisor to give its formal name, was it was extremely repetitive, and there wasn't really much change on a day-to-day basis. Whereas with personal training, it's a very varied from client to client, and like each client's progress is so different. Each client's journey is so different. And obviously the gym just comes hand in hand with it. So that sort of I was attracted a lot more to that role.
I think. Also, with the sales role, a lot of personal training is sales. If you can't sell yourself, if you have no ability to speak to people, and if you have no ability to, in a way, convince people to choose you, they're going to choose another personal trainer.
I think it was quite a good transition to make going.
Exactly. If someone wants a personal trainer, they're going to look for a personal trainer. It's your personality that's going to be the only reason you can't take on a new client, in my perspective. Yeah. Because there are a lot of trainers out there who give off sort of a persona. I have met a few over my time in the industry, which, like I said, hasn't been too long, but just like I've been a member of a lot of different gyms. I've used a lot of different gyms, and there's always one or two trainers there that are, they're a bit of a bellend, to put it politely. They're, the way they carry themselves, they don't really... They don't have any regards for you as a human. They just see you as money, as a client. That's never been me. Don't get me wrong. I like earning money. I like having a stable job when it is stable. I like sort of everything about what I do. And it's very flexible. It allows me to care for my little brother and all my pets and things like that. That again, later down the line we'll go into that. But it allows me to do everything I need to do outside of the gym as well. Like, whereas if I'm working 40 hours a week, you know, like I did a lot of weird jobs, so like 40 hours a week, but it would be 40 hours at night, or it'd be 40 hours starting at the afternoon and finishing the evening.
Very like unflexible.
Yeah, and so you've got no freedom. You can't, you know, you can't just take, you know, I could just not book a client in at 5 o'clock to go home and cook dinner and then come back at 7. Like, I'm fully free to do and work when I want for what the most part, if not the whole time. You know, we do service hours, but you know, they tend to be fairly flexible anyway. If you've got something desperate, like, but yeah, it's a great role, and like you said, sales directly correlates to it. You have to be able to sell yourself. Like, you have to be approachable. You have to have that ability to talk to people, which a lot of people don't. Obviously, there's especially like Corona must have affected a lot of people and given like so many people that didn't have anxiety a form of anxiety. And like, you can't have any of that if you want to be a PT. I can't be awkward in an introduction session or whatever. I can't be, because then I'm gonna make whoever I'm introducing to the gym, it could be their first time stepping into a gym. If I'm awkward, I make them feel awkward.
Definitely.
They're never gonna come back to the gym, and that's their journey over because of the way that I look at it. That's my fault. Although maybe it's not. Maybe they didn't have the motivation. If I can't, in an induction, in a first session with a client, you know, getting to know someone, if I can't come across in a nice manner, and I can't come across in an approachable manner where they feel like, oh, if I have any issues, I can really go and speak to Aaron. He's going to help me out. He's knowledgeable. He knows his shit. You know,
that's how it should be, definitely.
And 100%. So that's, again, something that I think directly correlated between your sales job and that. And I just remember, you were not happy at all. And I remember sitting there with you, and I'd be, like, we'd be eating our chicken and rice. I'd be like, mate, why don't you just be a PT? Why don't you just be a PT?
I know,
Like,
I think what it was is, I think the chance never really came about. I think obviously where we worked, there were already a lot of PTs, and then, you know, I'm trying not to touch on coronavirus and lockdown too much because it's just it's a shit subject.
Well, we'll probably do like a whole. I mean, we're both very opinionated when it comes to, obviously that's our businesses and our livelihoods, and it affected a lot of people in a lot of different ways. So, you know, as someone who, I would describe myself as strongly opinionated. I mean, I will offend a lot of people.
You will.
And, you know, am I sorry for that? No, that's my opinion. You can have your opinion, and I'm not gonna cry over spilled milk. You can say whatever you want, and I'm gonna live with it. I'm gonna just be like, oh, that's your opinion. I may not agree with it, but I'm not gonna disrespect it. Whereas, you know, if you've got an opinion that's outside of the norm, I feel like a lot of the time, you know, or if you've got a different perspective on something, a lot of the time you open yourself up to criticism that isn't really warranted just because it's a different view. Obviously, I could in turn then change a few people's views. I'm not some mad conspiracy theorist or anything, but like, obviously, when it comes to opinions, people have their own, and if you say something that directly contradicts their opinion, they're not going to be too fond of it.
And again, I think going back to the start, this is where we've sort of named a podcast as it is, so we can sort of touch on these subjects, and, you know, even away from coronavirus, we'll obviously think of it from in time to come, but I mean, other sort of maybe more controversial topics that we can touch on and give our views, and obviously, you know, get other people involved.
Literally, like, I mean, subjects that a lot of people avoid, like steroids in the fitness industry, like the use of steroids. Would you ever use them? Would I ever like that kind of thing?
Yeah, I think touching on that as well briefly, I think it's such a sort of, within the fitness industry and within the bodybuilding world, it's such a sort of, I think it has got better in terms of people sort of openly admitting to it. And
I mean, they're definitely out there.
They're definitely more. Some people are definitely more out there, which is good to see. But there are still a lot of people within the industry, and I know of as well, that still hide away from the fact that they are.
Yeah, so many people. Like, there is a stigma with it. I think it's a bit of an older stigma now.
Yeah,
like
that's what I'm. Yeah,
I mean, well, okay, let's go into it now. You know, we're on the topic. Let's free flow. Let's go. So on the topic of steroids, obviously there's a stigma around it. There's this old.
Are you on it?
I'm not. You know, I'm pretty big, but I'm not on any juice as of yet.
You sure?
Nah, you know
what? To be fair, you said as of yet, so does that mean you're...
So potentially, down the line, I may go into you know, I mean, I used to have intentions of competing, and I love bodybuilding, but due to circumstances out of my control, I still love bodybuilding, but I don't have that same.
You don't want to compete, essentially.
Yeah, I have the will to. I could I could see myself dying for 16 weeks. I eat chicken and rice 4 times a day every day, and I bully my little brother into eating the same. Don't feel bad at all.
Fair enough.
But like, I just don't have that. I love competing, but I have a lot going on in my life and a lot of stress and a lot of things. I know that sounds like a cop out or whatever, but like,
I think you should say never. I mean, if it does come about,
if it comes about 100%. Like, it was a dream of mine when I was like 20, 21. I wanted to compete. It was well, no, not even like 19, 20. And then sort of everything went downhill and it kind of didn't happen. But you know, at the time I was natural, well, always been natural, but at the time I was, you know, a decent size for a natural. I was still holding on to a bit of chub, but that's why you compete, you cut down.
Going back to the sort of the steroid point, obviously, as you said not yet in terms of going on steroids. So is there, have you got a plan? I mean, are you talking within the next year, the next 5 years, next 10 years? What are your reasons for wanting to go on steroids? What are you?
So for me personally, it's definitely not next year, 5 years, whatever. For me,
it's quite a long time away.
Yeah, it's a while away. It's always going to be. I mean, I love science. I love the science aspect of things. I love learning new things. Yeah. Like,
I think that's a lot of it as well. I mean, a lot of people don't really understand the sort of the science and the actual logistics sort of behind steroids. Yeah,
they just go, big juice.
100%. They just go, here's some tren. Yeah, like they don't really know how much to put in. You know, what sort of dosage. A lot of people don't consider that. So, you know, obviously,
it's like a lot of people do see it as a shortcut, although it isn't. If you're not eating well, if you're not training hard, it'll still take you time. Of course. A lot of people just think it's instant. In a month, I'm going to be huge. Yeah. Like, of course. Going back to your question, like, for me personally, I would only ever use it. Like, I wouldn't use any of the synthetic made steroids, e.g., your Anavar, that kind of thing, because that's not what I'm about. I'm not trying to. And I would never lie about it. I'm not trying to get shredded or ripped for a stage. Like, if you're competing in bodybuilding, take whatever you want, but be sensible. Because that is the sport. You are not going to step on stage and look good and compete against, you know, unnatural athletes.
I mean, obviously, it depends on sort of the federation you're within and whether you decide to step on stage as a natural or step on stage as an assisted athlete. But what would your reasons be then for going on steroids?
Like, realistically, again, if it was to compete in an unnatural way, like against unnatural people, you are not, as a human being, going to beat someone who is unnatural whilst you are natural.
I mean, unless your genetics is just through the
unless you are roof, like the next coming of Ronnie Coleman or something, you are not going to do it. Like, you're going to need some secret sauce for that. But, like, I don't have an issue with that if you don't lie about it. People that lie about it are the ones that
you have an issue
I wouldn't say I have a direct issue with it. It's their life. It's what they're putting in their body. If they understand it, that's up to them. Yeah. But if you're someone who is directly influencing people and you're lying about it, like, there's a lot of social media influencers that do take steroids or don't take steroids, and you know, but they won't admit to it. I
think that's a really good point.
The very first one I remember, because it's part of the reason I stopped looking at influencers, because I stopped caring, because they're all dodgy. They're all like doing.
I think a lot of them do lie, and a lot of them are juiced up. And going back to your point, I mean, if you're promoting a program or how to get fit in 30 days or whatever bullshit, but I mean, a lot of these people will promote that and say, this is how I did it, this is how I done it, this is what I ate, this is how I trained. Okay,
and leave out the fact
what steroids did you put in your body? A lot of people won't go back to that. But yeah, I think if you're I have no problem with it at all. If you're honest about it, if you use it in a way that's gonna.
I remember the very first bodybuilder / influencer I ever saw come out about it and be open was Brandon Harding. Brandon Harding. He was the very first one I remember who actually came out and said, I'm on steroids. I want to compete. I'm taking this seriously. I'm doing PCA shows. Yeah. I am on steroids.
And I felt
my respect grew for that man because he was so open in an industry that is so closed.
And I think when you're talking about how open, I think, well, for people listening, they can literally go and search up Brandon Harden steroids on YouTube. And I know specifically there's one video where he literally goes through every single detail of what he is on, drug to drug, how much he takes, when he takes it. And within this video, he's literally, from what I can remember, I don't know if he's crying or whether he's just extremely emotional, but he's just sort of revealing the steroids that he's on and how much of an effect that has on his body.
If you read the comment section in that exact same video, there's no just fake natty. It's all full of support. Like, everyone was like, "Whoa, fair play, mate! How you've actually come out!
Yeah,
wow!"
Definitely,
like,
definitely.
Jesus, no one comes out in this industry. Like, even if you're as a massive, there's massive Instagram influencers as personal trainers. If you're anyone in that fitness realm that is directly making money, your main job is in the gym or surrounded by fitness, and you're lying to people about what you take, what you do, then I lose a level of respect for you.
It's just not cool, ultimately.
I mean, 100% I lose respect for people that like, I mean, my respect doesn't mean a lot to a lot of people, like, don't get me wrong, but like, it's just, there's no need for it. Like, people are going to understand if you want to compete, if you have aspirations in life that require you to become unnatural and take steroids, there's nothing, some of the, not some of, the best physiques in the world are all people who are unnatural. Like, you can't compare 90% of natural bodies with someone who's on steroids. Granted, 90% of people don't train, but like, you know what I mean? Like, it's although it's a sour subject for a lot of people, for me, if you know what you're taking, you know exactly what you're looking to do. You're if you're competing, if you're doing anything, 100%, like, I have no issue with that, if you're honest. Like, me personally, when I'm getting up there in age and, my body stops producing natural testosterone, I wouldn't, like I said, take anything unnatural or synthetic, but I would do, like, almost like testosterone replacement therapy. I would take testosterone to boost my natural test levels back to how they are now.
And I think as well, we just sort of touch
maintain
on
shape.
People that don't really understand, when you get older, as a male, when you get older, your body just produces less testosterone.
Yeah.
And that's just you can't do anything about that.
Yeah.
So obviously in your case, you're saying as you get older, your body starts producing less testosterone. So I'll just take some form of test to...
Exactly. So I just boost my levels back up with a form of low-level test. There's nothing crazy. No. But then I've also done the research on the adverse effects of that.
Of course.
Because you need to know the effects of these things before you partake in them. I know that if I take a natural amount of testosterone just to boost my levels back up, it's going to have very little, it's going to do very little damage to my kidneys, livers, anything like that. If you're slamming Anavar down like there's no tomorrow, you're taking tablets, your livers, your kidneys, they are done for. By the time you're, a lot of people, I haven't got the numbers in front of me. It's just spoiler alert. I've not really, we had literally, we didn't plan to go into this topic. But a lot of people who take steroids end up with some form of kidney, liver, or some form of, like, irreversible damage to their body, which really affects them in later life. Yeah. So,
but a lot of people don't think about that.
Yeah. Will taking levels of testosterone do that? 100%. It's going to have an effect on my body. But I'd rather die looking good than looking awful. No, I'm joking. But it's going to be so...
Oh, that's true.
It's true, but it's going to be so low, it's going to have such a little effect that in the space that I want to use it, or in the capacity that I want to use steroids eventually, like when I'm like 30, 35 for the record, and onwards, like almost like Joe Rogan. Joe Rogan is very open about his TRT. Like, he's not... He doesn't look massive.
No, he doesn't really look
he's healthy.
Like
he trains. He looks good. Like, that's how I'm trying to be. If my testosterone starts dropping, and I'm getting older, anyway, my body is going to start to change in a way that is going to affect me mentally.
So would you say you're sort of, if you do go to taking it, would you say it's more for your sort of, well, mental health in a way, I guess, or how you look and how you feel? The way I look massively affects the way I feel. Yeah, definitely. So
massively. Yeah. Not just because social media, whatever, not because I'm a personal trainer, but because I've been fat, I've been called ugly, I've been called all the names under the sun, and in a way that does affect me. As I would love to say it didn't, but it did. I now look in the mirror and I think I'm not good enough sometimes. I go, if I, like, first lockdown, I didn't train at all, I ate whatever I wanted, you know, and which is why I was fat. I was a comfort eater. I had a lot of problems, I love food, hence I was a chef. So I just ate and ate and ate and didn't stop because I didn't understand.
Yeah.
I didn't understand what I was eating, what I was doing to my body, which is massive, you know. And then, like, first lockdown, I just started to get fat again, and I was like, you just look like your old self. You look fat, and it really, it hit me hard. Like, when gyms reopened,
Were people commenting on your physique when gyms were reopened, or were people saying anything like that?
Well, that's the thing, is no. Like, no one really, at the end of the day, no one, when you get to, like, well, I'm 22 now. When you get to this sort of age, no one really gives a fuck. Like, no one's judging anyone, and it's a massive stigma again in the gym that people are looking at you and going, oh, you shouldn't be there, oh, we shouldn't be here. And no one cares. Unless you are a celebrity, no one cares. But for me, mentally, it just feels like that, and it takes a lot to get over that. Like, you don't just switch off your brain. You can't just go like, oh, nah, that's not going to affect me. It's going to affect you, if it, you know. And so, like, that's sort of why I would take steroids. Just, like, because if I'm looking good and I'm staying healthy or whatever, then I won't. I won't jeopardize my health, my body's physical health, for that. But if things start to go south, I start to get a little bit flabby or whatever, but I'm still, you know, eating the same, doing the same. You know, there's only so little calories you can eat before your body starts to shut down. Like, if my I've not got good metabolism anyway, but if it gets so bad that I'm starting to get flabby, but I'm still only eating like 2,500 calories a day of lean meat, then I'm going to want to do something so that I don't have to eat 1,000 calories a day. I'm going to want to do something so that I can feel good in myself. Like, what about yourself then? Would you consider taking steroids?
Yes, I think.
I know you want to compete, so with that.
Yeah, so within sort of that, I mean, I've got aims at the moment of competing around about, well, within the 2023 season, hoping all goes well. But that's competing as a natural at the moment. In terms of going on steroids, I don't think from the sounds of it I have as much knowledge as you do within that department. I'd want to know a lot more about what I'm doing and why I'm doing it.
I'll be honest, the only reason I have the knowledge is because I've been tempted before. I've been 18, 19 and gone,
so you've looked into it, have you?
How do I lose weight, and do I, you know, one cycle and I'll be fixed, or one cycle and I'll be fit, and I'll have
one 8-week cycle and
one little 7-weeker and I'll be absolutely shredded. Like, yes, I've looked into it. Yes, I've been tempted when I was younger. Not so much in the last 2-3 years. Not even with lockdown. Like,
no.
I mean, I'm going off what I remember from research. I obviously a lot of it is common sense, but I haven't stored everything I ever researched in my head and everything I ever learnt about steroids in my head. But I remember spending a lot of nights on Google, reading forums.
How close were you to actually making the jump then to go on steroids?
Wouldn't know where to get it, so not very close.
Not very close, no.
At the time, I had no friends on steroids. I didn't know people on steroids. Like I said, I went to a cheap commercial gym where there were maybe 1 or 2 steroid users.
Yeah.
So there wasn't any like, you know, certain gyms you walk around, it's a bodybuilder gym. They're all juicing. You can see they've all got veins popping out their arse. Their skin's all red and oily. Like, you know.
No, yeah, you know, you can definitely spot it from a mile off.
But I didn't know anyone on steroids. I wasn't friends with anyone who knew anyone on steroids, and so I wasn't close. Not through lack of like interest, but just through I couldn't get hold of anything. So that was it. But so interestingly, you said you want to compete naturally to start with. Is that because of an age thing, or
I think definitely because of an age thing. I mean, right now I don't see there's literally no point me going on steroids. Like, what is the actual point? I'm 20.
Again, I think it would start massively affecting your health down the line if you did, and you're not competing now. You're not competing this year.
And also, I haven't been training long enough to be anywhere near my
optimal.
What's the word? Go on.
What, like your optimal physique?
Yeah,
like
as a natural, I guess. Yeah, like my genetics.
Your genetic potential.
That's it. That's the one.
So you've not hit. Basically, he's saying he's not hit. Like, say this is your like naturally that you can only get so big or so fit or so whatever. Like,
and I'm nowhere near.
You have a cap. Like that's just how it is. Your natural hormone levels will only take you to say this level. He's just saying he's not hit that level yet. And
I mean, I'm only 21 in November.
Yeah.
I almost forgot.
Shout out.
But I mean, I've still got many years before I'm anywhere near that sort of natural.
Yeah. So I mean, same here. I'm 22.
Yeah. Exactly.
I mean, you don't really hit your prime until you're like. I mean, a lot of people would think it's like 25, but you don't hit your physical prime until you're literally like 30. Like, it's way later than anyone thinks it is. Like, if you watch UFC events, they always talk about it, but your prime is way later than you would think, because you need time to learn, you need time to develop your body. It keeps producing testosterone until it's not able to. You got to think, as a human, you're not really much different to any other animal species out there. And this is again something that really interests me. I love human biology. I love biology. I keep a lot of fish. I love just science. I love science.
Can't really stand it.
But I think it's that level of understanding. I like understanding things. I don't like looking at things and being confused and not knowing like what I'm doing or what's happening. Like I like being like, I've got a computer. What's the parts of the computer? How do I put it together? Which is why I decided to build one instead of buy one the other day. Like it's very much just like an inquisitive thing. I just want to know stuff. So like when it comes to like humans, your natural level, you got to think as yourself as you derive from like a monkey, from a caveman, from like that kind of thing. So although I don't know the exact hormone levels, numbers, whatever, I'm not a biologist. I'm just someone generally interested in the topic. Just as like a disclaimer, so people don't think I'm an expert. Like, if you got to look at yourself as you came from an ape or a caveman or whatever, you are directly related to these things in some fashion. So you are going to have certain behaviors of that creature, that animal. Like you obviously you won't hunt anymore because everything's been commercialized, but you don't need to hunt for food anymore. Certain like behaviors have been trained out of you, almost like a dog over years of breeding. Like they lose their killer instinct almost. Like as a human, you could naturally easily go and kill an animal and eat it. You could kill another human and eat them. Like naturally, that is something inside of you. It's a bit of a deep one.
I don't know about me.
It's a bit of a deep one, but it gets bred out of you. Like somewhere deep down, anyone could kill someone in theory. Males more than females, because the males historically were the hunters and were the ones obviously with the testosterone and the hormones that would lead them to do certain things. So males more than females, but yeah, you've naturally, everyone has it in them to be able to hunt, kill, whatever you need to do to survive. Like you want to survive. You're a human. You don't want to die. Like it comes down to genetics. You want to survive. You want to breed and spread your genetics, and you want to, that's it. You just want to do those two things. Like there's nothing different about you than an ape. An ape just wants to breed and survive, eat, drink, whatever. Eat, drink, and be comfortable. Like that's your life. So although we've commercialized it as humans, that's what we do. We're higher beings. Shout out. But like, yeah, it's also interesting. Like you've got to think, cavemen didn't stop hunting when they were only a quarter of the way through their life. Like realistically, the average like age for life expectancy in England is 76 to 80 or something like that. So we're 20, 22. We are a quarter of the way through our lives. How would we be at our natural potential by now? Like think of it that way. Yeah. Like
that's a good way of putting it.
Yeah, granted you're gonna have it's like a slope. You're gonna hit the peak and come back down, but that peak isn't gonna be when you're 20. When you think, well, I'm 20, I'm 22. 7 years ago, I was 15 and I was literally hadn't even hit puberty. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, you people underestimate the amount of growing they do up to a point, and then obviously you come back down after that. So
definitely. I'll just go into a few more topics I also want to discuss about.
Yeah, sure.
in terms of motivation throughout lockdown, I think we sort of breached on it. The word motivation is such a key word. How would you find your motivation has been this lockdown compared to, say, well, the first lockdown you obviously discussed? We had a lockdown in was it November? No. Yeah, we had a lockdown in November. It was like a 4-week lockdown. And then obviously December we were using gyms, and then obviously we've been in lockdown for 4 months. How would you compare your motivation this lockdown to previous
So
lockdowns?
I would say for myself it's way higher. Again, we've been training together.
Yeah.
I've invested in like loads of kit. I've invested in myself.
Point,
At the start of this lockdown, not knowing how long it would be, I bought like a basic squat rack. Since then, I've added like a Roman chair, basically like a pull-up bar where you can do dips, pull-ups, crunches, ab raises. It's got a bench attached to it, so we've got a flat bench, decline bench, like all these things. We've got a squat rack, so that we can do any kind of bench. We've got an actual flat bench, like dedicated, and then we got dumbbells that we can go. I mean, we've been up to like 40, 45 kilo, and they've held up. Oh, and we have a landmine row. So we may not have machines anymore, like we would in a gym, but you'd be. You can't make excuses for not training, because what are we missing? Like, what can't we do?
No,
we can't. Sure, we can't do a shoulder press, we can't do a leg press, but there are millions of exercises out there.
Yeah,
you can do something. You can find something to do, and I think it would be hard if I didn't have the kit. If I wasn't training with you, like I find it hard to train in my house, in my home environment. Like, I come here to relax, I come here to sleep, eat, whatever. I'm not like trained to want to work out here. I'm like, my mind is like, when I'm here, my mind's relaxing. When I'm at the gym,
I think a lot of people, that's where they would have struggled with environment. I think environment's such a big thing.
Massive. You're never gonna outgrow the environment.
No, I mean, obviously first of all, I think obviously I don't live here, so it's a
Yeah, you do. Yeah, he does. Don't tell Boris. He lives there now.
Don't tell Boris. But obviously I don't live here, so
support bubble in that.
Support bubble, exactly. So I think environment for me hasn't really been much of an issue, because I've almost made that gym journey, but instead I'm just coming here instead of the gym. Yeah. For you, obviously, I mean, viewers can't see it, but you've got your living room, and then what area would you sort of say where the gym is?
Where our gym is, if you follow me on Instagram or you follow Jay on Instagram, you would have seen the gym set up, like matted floors and everything. So I have like kit out, but basically we're currently sat in the dining room area, just recording this podcast. We are working on a studio, so eventually like we'll have a bit more of a permanent place to do it with a better setup. So we'll have like just better overall quality, hopefully.
Not too much spoilers, mate.
Yeah, not too many spoilers. But no, if you follow us, we'll obviously be giving spoilers on the gram, as we always do, as we have leading up to our pilot episode. But yeah, we're currently in my living room that's kind of split into two. Like, there's a back end sort of dining room area, and the front end's where the TV, the sofas, that kind of shit is. But where the gym is, there's literally an extension, so it's attached to the living room. There's a little partition wall in the middle, and you walk through there, and it's like all hard floor, and the gym's out there. But that used to be, when we were growing up, I mean, we just call it the back room now, but it was like the child's room kind of thing. Like,
I think we have been very lucky in a sense that we've just got that massive area there that we can use. I think for a lot of people, they may be struggling, say, if they have no space, limited access, or no space. Like,
I've seen a lot of people on Instagram just training in bedrooms, just on the side of their bed with a resistance band.
Yeah, that's tough.
I have to respect anyone doing that, because I couldn't. If I was trying to survive with a resistance band and doing it down the side of my bed or in my bedroom, it ain't happening. I'm sitting. My Xbox is right there. I'm sitting down. I'm playing Xbox. I'm not doing squats with a resistance band. I'm not. It's just not me. That's not how I enjoy training. It's not what I enjoy. And
I think we have been lucky with our setup.
Yeah, and a massive part of why I train is because I massively enjoy it.
Yeah.
But yeah, the gym setup sort of in what was our kids' room growing up is now just our back room. So it was kind of an empty space. Like, we use it for like some of the animal stuff now, like our dog beds, whatever. But yeah, I mean, we wouldn't really be doing much with the space anyway if it wasn't a gym.
Yeah.
But yeah, I am very fortunate to have the space to put that in my house. I live with just me and my 15-year-old brother. So no one can really tell me not to do that.
You can't forget the zoo as well. You can't forget
the zoo. Bloody hell, yeah. We got
Go on then. How many pets have you got?
How many pets? Let's do a roundup then. So we've got 3 dogs. We got 2 Pomeranians and a Shar-Pei, Chico, Cinco, Harley. We got 4 cats. One of them likes to go wanders for days at a time and then come back. So we've got Didi, Aljo, Leo. That's an even better story, mate. We got all the cats from the same lady. They were given to my mum by the same lady. So this is just too good of a story to miss. So basically, we had Harley first, our biggest dog, our Shar-Pei, was our original animal. That was it. That's all we had. My mum then my mum's friend bought a kitten, and the lady who was given the kitten came along and said, I've got 3 kittens here. Can you look after them and I'll pick them up at the end of the day? So my mum's friend was like, yeah, sure, that's fine. Like, they were going away for a day or 2 and they were picking them up after. Well, obviously this lady never turned back up. So now my mum's friend got ditched with 3 cats instead of the 1 she wanted. So she gave 1 to my mum. At the time, I was definitely afraid of cats. I got attacked by one when I was younger. Like, I shit you not, they were one of my biggest fears. Obviously now I have to be alright with them.
You got no choice.
Anyway, and then that was Schmeeks, aka Kiki. That's his little nickname. But named after the Drake song.
Kiki.
Yeah, Kiki.
Yeah, that's
anyway,
a big tune.
So that gives you a timestamp as to when we got him, because that was the number one song. Anyway, he's a legend, and he's the one that goes wonders. Next thing you know, Mum's friend, her cat of the 3 kittens died. It got ran over.
Oh dear.
A bit morbid, but it got ran over. So she then got another cat to replace that cat. My mum's friend, this is called Lily, and then she ended up taking on another cat down the line called Charlie, who was a male, who was big and like grumpy, but he was a nice enough cat. He was pretty chill. And yeah, so basically, this lady is involved with social services. She's got a lot of children. It's just her. They came along and said, hold on, you can't have all these cats. And so this lady said to my mom at the time, can you take my cats and look after them for a couple months until social services basically leave us alone, and then
she'll have them back.
We'll have them back. Anyway, so yeah, my mom was like, oh yeah, lovely. My mom was a lovely lady, so she was like, oh yeah, we'll take him, blah blah blah. We've already got 1. What's the difference? Anyway, Lily was a female who wasn't neutered, and so our black cat, Kiki, ended up smashing up Lily, and she had 4 kittens. So at that point in time, we had 7 cats, including 4 kittens that Lily had.
Wow.
Without going too deep into it, we had to give Lily and Charlie away because we couldn't really look after them. Oh, and and another little fun fact: Lily actually had a second batch of kittens. She had 3 more kittens. So at one point in time, we had the 4 kittens we've still, or the 3 kittens we still got: Kiki, Lily, Charlie, and 3 more kittens.
So what's that? That's 9.
9 cats. We had 9 cats. I gave one of those kittens to my partner. She still has little Luna. So I still see that one. But yeah, he 9 cats. It's quite mad. We had 3 dogs and 9 cats at one point. Wow. So that's the cat story.
And then you got what? You got fish as well. I'm looking at a fish tank right now.
So we've still got 4 cats now. And then, like I mentioned earlier, I'm a fish enthusiast. So I started off with just a nice little 60-litre freshwater tropical tank in my bedroom.
As you do.
At the same time, I also like reptiles. I kept them as a kid. So again, now that I'm a big boy, I thought, you know what, I'm gonna get myself a lizard. So I got a nice little tokay gecko. And the reason why I got my lizard is they're very fascinating. It's a dick. It's a female tokay gecko. They're not very friendly, so you can't really handle them or anything, but I had no interest in doing so. I wanted to create they call it a bioactive setup, so I don't have to really clean her setup. I just chuck food in there. I
have no knowledge when it comes to this topic, by the way.
To be honest with you, I don't think too many people do. It's like it's a hobbyist thing. Like,
yeah.
My hobby is I like animals, like especially exotic animals, like cool stuff that not many people have. Like, how many people have a tokay gecko? Probably now.
Just you, mate.
Probably now 1.
Top of my head, yeah.
So it's a pretty cool, like, blue and orange spotted, so, like, Google it, anyone watching. And you can't really handle them or anything, but it was going into a bioactive setup, so I did not have to clean this setup, really, because it had, like, everything you would find in a natural forest area to clean up all the dirt. So the roots of the plants would take out nitrates, any, like, little woodlouse and springtails would break down any poo or anything like that into the soil, and they would become the nutrients that feed the plants, and it would be like a whole life cycle in this little vivarium, this little glass case. It was pretty sick, and it's still pretty sick now. So yeah, I got a tokay gecko, I got my fish tank upstairs, I got given a turtle. I had a spare rack on my rack of, so I've got like a 3-tier thing. I've got my fish on the bottom, I've now got a turtle on the middle, lizard on top, but at the time I didn't have the turtle, so I had a middle bit clear. It was my sister's turtle, but she didn't look after it very well, and so she was like, "Oh, you like cool animals, have this turtle." And I was like, "Sweet." So I got a little mud turtle. He's pretty chill. I mean, they don't really do a lot. They just kind of sit there, like. And for anyone, like, a lot of people think it's harsh to keep animals inside. I mean, but with reptiles, like I was saying earlier, naturally they only want to survive. They do not care about their environment, and if anything, being in captivity makes it easier for a reptile because they do not have to hunt food. They have a constant supply of bugs. Like, there's no need to go out hunting, and so they and with a reptile, they actually lack the part of a brain that would allow them to have feelings, which is why a tokay gecko is so aggressive. Like, they might see you and know you mean food, but they do not care about you as a human. They do not care, like a dog actually loves you. They'll come up to you and they like you and they'll, whatever. A reptile does not give a fuck. They're just there for food. So yeah, it's not harsh, anything like that. Anyway, so then, again, we were going a few months down the line, and I thought, you know what would be sick in my living room? Have a nice little, it's 265 litre marine fish tank. So, it's had its quarrels throughout the ownership.
It's had its fish as well.
Yeah. Anyone who keeps marine fish will know that they are interesting. There's a lot of science behind it, weirdly enough, and like one little thing can just kill your whole tank. Anyway, I added a few new fish, and I think one of them had like something, a parasite, or something like we literally don't know, and it just wiped out my entire tank, like 250 quid's worth of fish. Anyway, so since then I've replaced them all, and we're back to living good in the fish tank, and I think that's it. I don't think I have any more. I do. Sometimes I forget.
Well, it keeps you entertained at least, doesn't it?
I tell you what,
or keeps you busy.
It keeps me busy, but it's
both.
also kind of annoying.
Yeah, well,
having. As someone who wasn't a massive fan of cats, I now have to be because I've got 4 of them. Like, I love my dogs to bits, but like, I live with a 15-year-old. If you remember, think back to how you were as a 15-year-old, not the most useful humans in the world. So I get left to do everything, which, with my fish, reptiles, everything like that, obviously they're mine. That's completely on me. But the other ones are, like, the cats are more my brother's than mine, and he still doesn't do shit. So shout out to
Aaron's brother listening right now. Shout out to
Brandon, mate.
Hope you are, mate.
Yeah, you better be listening. But yeah, like I do love my animals. I've got quite a few of them. Quite a few.
Well, I obviously still live at home with my dad, so I've just got 2 cats.
Those are rookie numbers, mate. Rookie's numbers.
Need to get those numbers up.
Yeah, literally. So, to be fair, guys, I think that will probably do for the first episode. We're 54 minutes in. To finish up, I think we should just do like a quick breakdown of everything that's coming, like, or where we're planning to take.
Yeah, what the plan sort of is.
Even just our overall business, like, as personal trainers, we've got like 10 minutes left. So, I mean, I think we go briefly into business and podcasts and everything we're looking to do.
Well, I'll start with the whole podcast thing. I think it was sort of a joint idea, wasn't it? I guess it sort of came about. We were sort of thinking of the idea.
Well, we saw. To be fair, I think it came from we saw loads of people doing Instagram lives, and we were like,
yeah. Well, I know me myself, especially over this lockdown, I've started watching a lot more podcasts.
I mean, I've definitely had an interest in podcasts before, but I've never really wanted. I have had an idea to start one, but never really had the means or like someone to host with. And if you're sat on a podcast on your own, it's probably not the most enjoyable thing.
No,
like you've got no one to bounce off of. Anyway, for me, it was like I saw loads of people doing like Instagram lives and things, and I was like, yeah, they're cool, but they're a bit limited. You can't be on there forever, or and they're just, and people like, you can't really listen to them in the car. You can't take them with you. Whereas with a podcast, anyone watching can download this podcast and listen to it over the next 2 car journeys or 1 car journey, or they can listen to,
Well, I think as well,
or if
for
you're
me,
doing housework, you can sit there and listen to a podcast.
I find myself sometimes out on a walk, doing my steps, for example.
Yeah, exactly. Like
I'm on the street, and then I'll just have my earphones in, and I'll just start laughing to myself. And then people are looking like, what the fuck is that guy doing? What's he on? But I just find myself laughing to him.
I mean, for anyone who doesn't really get it, like a podcast, as someone who loves listening to them, it's kind of like having a conversation. Like, it's weird because it's like being in a conversation without being in a conversation. You're listening to 2 or 3 people talk, but you're in your head going like, that's funny, or these are my opinions on that, or I'd love to, it gets you thinking about topics and things, which I enjoy.
Do you want to just sort of touch on sort of future episodes, what our sort of plans are in terms of video ideas, in terms of getting guests on? So
basically, we're hoping we can open like a Q&A section, and involve a lot of the community. Obviously, we're both trainers out here based in Gloucester, so we know loads of members.
Southwest England, by the way.
Big up the Southwest. So loads of people have questions. I can imagine that they want answering, but maybe they don't want to reply to an Instagram poll. They want to ask personally. Well, this is your way to get a long form answer without having to read a lot of writing.
Yeah, you're right.
If you message one of us or message our podcast page and say, I want to, what are macros, or how do I know how much to eat to lose weight, like that kind of thing, we can sit here and answer it in long form and give you a nice, hopefully well articulated answer, where we go fairly in depth about the science, and we're trying to help people as well as have a conversation.
Yeah.
So if you have a topic you want to hear us discuss, or if you have a question you want to know the answer to, obviously if we get multiple questions, we'll try to group them into like a certain podcast. So there could be like a nutrition based podcast, or workout based one, or or it could be current events, or it could be like based on COVID-19 and the effects that's had. It could be on business. It could be anything. There's so many things we can discuss. Again, like we said at the start, that's why we didn't call it like fitness, with Aaron and James. It's just the A&J podcast.
Yeah.
We just want to talk shit, and we want to, hopefully entertain or help a few people, or just generally talk about topics that people want to learn or know about that we are maybe more knowledgeable on.
I think I'll just touch on sort of the guest side of it as well. I mean, we're hoping, I should say, to get a few different guests on weekly, whether that's sort of fellow personal trainers within the community, whether that's bodybuilders, or whether that's people even outside of the gym and bodybuilding environment.
If we're getting guests on as well, we will obviously announce beforehand. We'll be like, so and so's coming on the show. Send us questions. Yeah, so we will have questions for the specific person. I mean, I know we know plenty of people between us in the industry of fitness, martial arts, interesting people, and just in general, we could get anyone really on who has any sort of knowledge in any subject. Like we said, we don't want to limit to fitness. We don't want to limit to anything. So, I mean, and if you wanna come and join us and just have a chat, then just hit us up, But yeah, we'll get it out there before we have a guest, so you can drop any questions for them, any questions that you want us to discuss as a 3, and yeah, so hopefully, some point down the line, I think we're gonna wait till we have the studio a little bit more ready to go.
I mean, this is sort of
a very
basic sort of, isn't it? Sort of first one.
Yeah,
basic,
yeah. I mean, we're still working on camera angles and things. I'm the one here with my laptop in front of me changing the cameras and everything. So we're hoping we can even maybe get a third member to help us out, just to do the cameras, the audio, and whatever. Because otherwise, I have to do it as I'm talking or as Jay's talking. And sometimes I forget, as I probably have in this recording, to change it. So you're just looking at me, just staring at James as he talks. Now, I think I've done a decent job, but we wanna expand. We want to get guests on, and then I mean, hopefully it'll be a nice little way to get to know more people as well. Like,
big things to come.
Yeah, literally. Like, we know a lot of people, and we talk to plenty of people between us, but I think the podcast could open even more avenues, and it should be fun. So I mean, that is literally 59 minutes and 30 seconds, mate. So we can.
Not bad, is it?
We can call it there if you want. In fact, so basically, guys, hopefully we're gonna release an episode every Wednesday, was it? We said, or around midweek.
We're sort of. I think midweek's best.
Yeah.
Just sort of a midweek catch up. And we're trying to do weekly episodes. So.
Exactly. So hopefully weekly episodes. There may be the odd special or whatever, but it should be around midweek every week. I'm hoping we can just say Wednesday. We've got a YouTube channel. So please.
That's so weird, isn't it? We've got a YouTube channel.
Yeah, we've got a YouTube channel. I feel like a child saying that. But so for anyone who wants to like catch up on any old podcasts, you can find them on there. It's the A&J Podcast. Or you can ask for a link and we'll send it to you. Hopefully it'll be linked in our page bio.
Yeah.
So just check out the page, click the link, or just search it, and hopefully it'll come up.
We'll mention the old TikTok as well.
We got a TikTok, the A&J. The TikTok doesn't allow spaces; they're quite annoying. So it's the A underscore. So it's the underscore A letter N J underscore podcast.
That's the one.
So it's a bit of a complicated name for that one. But that's because TikTok are annoying.
And obviously the IG, which is just
the Instagram is just the A&J Podcast. But be sure to subscribe to YouTube, and obviously the whole backlog will be uploaded onto there. So every episode you find on Apple Podcasts or Shopify or Spotify or anywhere like that. So any episode uploaded on there will also be on our YouTube, and we're gonna have like a clips channel, and clips will go on the IG and things to help promote. So. And anyone who wants to come on or has anything interesting they want us to talk about, let us know. Or we'd really appreciate anyone helping us share out our long form content. And to anyone who does help, it would be much appreciated. And hopefully we shall see you all next week.
Perfect.
Sweet.
All good.